What's going on? We got the SEC predictions coming up next. We're going to go through all of the teams and determine who we think is serious contenders. So I have a ranking system I have to determine how I think all the teams are. So I'm going to start off at the bottoms and start off with no chance of winning the SEC championship. And this one I have Vanderbilt, who I think is terrible. I think they're just who everybody's going to beat up on. They've been bad for a while, and they're continuing it this year. Mississippi State, who's already losing games. They've already lost to South Carolina and LSU. I just think there's no chance that team will make any run towards the SEC championship. And then I have Auburn. I think it's kind of unfair to put Auburn with these teams, but I don't believe they have any shot. They have no quarterback. They have no offense. And against some of these really good offenses, I just don't believe that Auburn's going to have a shot at the SEC championship, even though I do think they're significantly better than Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. Next up, I have the long shot category. These teams, they have a chance, but it's going to take a lot. It's slim to none, but there's a chance there for them. I have Arkansas, who has a chance to prove themselves, even though they did just drop a game this week. Texas A&M, who came off a win against Auburn, and is scoring, but we got to see how they can hold up against these good offenses, how their defense can hold up. And then South Carolina, who coming out of the East, has their chance to prove themselves, but is already dropping games as well. So I think they're going to need a lot of teams in the West to lose games for them to be able to get in. Then we have need help. These teams need something to happen for them to get in. There are teams that could show us that they're contenders, but they're going to need, like my first spot, I have Alabama. They need a quarterback. Their quarterback needs to help them out bad. Their defense, I think, is good enough. I think they have good weapons around Milroe, but Milroe's going to have to continue to play consistent, not turn the ball over. Then you have Ole Miss. Ole Miss has already dropped the game to Alabama, so you're going to have Alabama and LSU's help in the West to get them in. Then you have Tennessee and Missouri. I think both of them are very good teams, but with both of them, with Missouri hasn't had a loss yet, but they're going to have to continue to help themselves by not losing games, because if they lose games, the high off the mission is going to drop off, and they're not going to have any shot. And then Tennessee's going to have help on that side as well. And then I have my serious contenders. I have Florida and Kentucky here. Both of these teams in the West, in the East, are really good teams. Both of them have a chance to prove themselves. Going to play Georgia, and I believe they can beat that Georgia team and then beat each other. They'll make it to the SEC championship game and then be able to really prove themselves. But I think both those teams have really good all-around teams, and I think they both have shots. And then my SEC championship game, I have the loser being Georgia. I don't know that Georgia is going to lose a game until that game. That Georgia team, yes, their defense is really good. They have a little quarterback problem. It's not as big as Alabama's by any means. I just think their quarterback's more inexperienced than he is bad. So I think that Georgia team is going to be able to run the East and make it to the SEC championship game. But then I have my SEC champion, and that's LSU. I think this LSU team is really good. They have that week 1 loss to Florida State, but it's a week 1 loss. Since then, they've really been showing us that this team can continue to score. I like their defense a lot. I think they have one of the best offenses in the SEC, and they're paired with that pretty good defense. I think that team is going to have I don't believe they'll lose another game until the playoffs. I don't think that they'll lose. If they do lose in conference before the SEC championship game, they won't make it, already having that 1 loss. But they do have that challenge against Alabama. They still have to play all their SEC slate. So I think the LSU team has their chance to prove themselves and make it to the SEC championship game, and then they'll just have that game against Georgia to make the playoffs. But I think they're the most well equipped. I think they're the most talented. I think they're the most well coached. I think they'll end up making it.
Yeah, I mean, your East, I do like your East with Georgia coming out. For the West, like you said, I have Mississippi State and Auburn being the last 2 teams. I have Mississippi State's projection at 4-8, and Auburn's at 6-6. Next up, I have Arkansas and Texas A&M. Those are my next 2 teams. I mean, last week they played LSU and they put up a good fight, but I don't really think those teams are going to really contend. I do think Texas A&M has a better shot than Ole Miss, though, at contending for that. But like you said, it's going to be long so that they do.
Do you think Ole Miss is better than Texas A&M?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I think it's close. What do you think?
Between Ole Miss and Texas, I don't think it's close. That Ole Miss team, they looked good against Alabama, and they were beating them at halftime, 7-6. And I think that Alabama team is really good. So to be able to hold, not really good as from the standpoint of overall, really good as a standpoint of defensively, which is why I think they ended up winning the game, because I think they just tired out Ole Miss. But to be
Yeah.
able to hold up with that Alabama defense and stop their offense going all the way through halftime, winning, and then going into the second half and then just losing the game, I think they're a lot better than people think. And that Texas A&M team didn't show me a lot against Auburn. They only put up 14, 17 points against Auburn. And it wasn't even that many at half. I mean, it was a game at half. So just to not put up that many points against an Auburn team, I don't believe too much in Texas A&M.
Yeah, if you would, so you do agree that they're better than Texas, yeah? Because I have them as my third team in the West, and then next up, the two teams that I think most everybody is really thinks are contending for is LSU and Alabama. I have Alabama beating them though, which I think that'll be a hell of a game. I do. So I have Bama coming in at 11-1, playing for the SEC championship against Georgia.
You think they'll beat LSU and Tennessee?
Yeah, I do. I'm not a big fan of Tennessee. I think Florida exposed Tennessee.
But having them beat LSU is, I don't know. I don't think that's possible. I think LSU is too complete.
I think they, which I think they will. Which this game is also on Tuscaloosa too, so I don't have Alabama a lot. Which I think too. It's like a little later on. I think they'll really get a good game plan for Jalen Milroe. You know, because last week that's what helped him a lot too. I feel like they were playing more his strengths rather than his weaknesses. So
yeah, but even if they played last week,
go ahead.
Milroe played really consistent last week, and they still weren't as good of a team as I think they need to beat LSU.
Yeah, but they still stalled in the red zone. He had a terrible red zone interception as well. So I think whatever he gets is like a flow and a rhythm of the offense that's built for him.
I don't think he's going to get that. I think last week was about as good as he can get. I mean, he was 17 of 21. I think that's how they're trying to make him out to be as a system quarterback and a game manager. And I just think that he's his captain. I don't think he's a good quarterback, and I don't think without a quarterback they can beat that LSU team.
Yeah, to me, I feel like he hasn't touched the ceiling. And I don't even know if he's really close, honestly, because he makes some big time plays. The throw, the deep ball against Ole Miss that's a beautiful ball. He has the tools. He just I don't know if he's a quarterback necessarily, but I feel like since that's later on, I feel like he'll really get some more reps under his belt and he'll start to thrive in that offense.
Maybe next year. I don't think by this year he'll be ready though. Not to contend.
Next year he probably won't be starting, to be honest. But I do have Bama, and then in the East, I think that Florida it's really Florida and Kentucky, and they play this week. So, I mean, that'll be so. If Florida loses, they're obviously out. With that second loss, there's no way. But I think either way, neither of these teams can compete with Georgia. I do think if Georgia was in the West, I would have a much harder time making this decision. So I have Georgia playing Alabama in the SEC championship, and I have them coming out victorious in that game. But I don't think it's crazy if you put LSU at all. I don't. I
think I like LSU a lot more than you do. I think that's the
yeah. Which I think you do too. It's just for me, which Malik Neighbors, the receiver who's been coming out, he's a freak. He's a freak. And Jane Daniels, he's legit too. I don't know. I don't know it's hard for me to bet against Bama and Nick Saban. It's just hard. Especially when
this year is not that hard
for them at home. Yeah, which I can see that. But
I don't know that Alabama's only two losses to me are going to be Texas and LSU. They still have to play Tennessee, and they have to play the whole SEC slate. And they're liable to lose every game they play in that SEC. Every one of them.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying also with Georgia, I could listen, in some crazy world, I see Auburn beating them, like you say, because they start off slow. So they start off slow. But Florida and Kentucky, those will be ball games.
Yeah,
if they're not, that means that Georgia's clicking on offense and starting off fast. If Georgia could start off fast, I think they'd be a clear favorite in the SEC. But the thing is, they start off slow and against good teams. Or even just relevant teams like an Auburn and teams like that. They start off slow, they're gonna have troubles. The games they pull away mid third quarter will go into late fourth quarter.
I don't know. I just don't see any way that that Alabama team can make the SEC championship game this year. I mean, they don't have any conference losses yet. They haven't really played any serious teams. They're the only team that I think that they've played. I mean, they played Ole Miss, and I like that Ole Miss team, but there's better competition. I mean, they played Texas, but that doesn't count because they're not in the SEC. But I think there's better competition in the SEC than Ole Miss they're going to have to play. And I think that's Tennessee and LSU, and I think they're going to drop both those games.
Which for me, the SEC is like a poor man's Pac-12. We got 4 ranked teams right now, or 5 with Missouri. So, I mean, we got talent in the conference, or no, 6 actually, because Ole Miss as well. So I mean, you've got good teams in this conference. So I mean, I think almost any of the top 3 could come out, but I think you're right with Bama and LSU being the top dogs, and like I said, I could see LSU coming out, but I'm gonna ride with Bama.